Welcome to Bore Me to Bed, the channel that helps you fall asleep to the world's most uneventful topics. There's no drama here, just calm, quiet rambles designed to help your brain slow down and switch off for the night. Tonight, we're talking about airports, not the crowds or delays or rushing to your gate, just the slow, behind-the-scenes parts. Runways, terminals, luggage systems, and how these strange in-between places came to be. So get comfy, let your thoughts wander, and we'll drift gently through the sleepy world of airports. Picture the airport in the quiet hours before dawn. The vast terminal lies hushed and almost empty, the usual crowd still drifting in dreams at home. Fluorescent lights cast a soft glow across polished floors that have been freshly cleaned, their surface gleaming gently. A few distant figures move unhurriedly through the spacious halls, a janitor guiding a silent floor polishing machine, and an early passenger wheeling a small suitcase whose wheels click softly over the tiles. In this gentle lull, the airport feels like its own sleeping city, peaceful and expectant, waiting for morning's first light to arrive. High above, the ceiling arches in graceful curves, an intricate lattice of steel and glass that fades into shadows. The enormous windows along the terminal's walls reveal a sky still dark, with just a hint of deep blue on the horizon promising dawn. Outside on the tarmac, airplanes rest quietly at their gates. Their hulls reflect the amber glow of floodlights along the apron, and pinpoints of red and green blink slowly on wingtips and tails like the sleepy eyes of giants. In the distance, the airport's control tower stands tall, its presence marked by a slowly rotating beacon, casting a gentle flash of green and white. Like a lighthouse watching over a sleeping harbour, it signals the airport's quiet readiness to any pilot flying in the dark sky above. A delicate mist clings to the edges of the runways in the distance, barely visible under the soft halos of light. A gentle breeze presses occasionally against the glass, but inside all is calm and still, insulated from the night's chill by the terminal's quiet warmth. In the silence, you might notice the subtle hum of air conditioning and the faint background whir of generators powering essential systems. These sounds form a soft, constant lullaby within the airport's walls. Occasionally, a distant announcement echoes softly from a speaker. At this hour, it might be an automated message about a delayed red-eye arrival, or a friendly reminder not to leave bags unattended. The words float through the empty concourse, barely above a whisper, and then fade back into quiet. Every sound is gentle and unhurried, part of the airport's slumbering soundtrack. As the clock moves slowly toward dawn, a few more people begin to appear, like the first bird stirring at daybreak. A security guard strolls leisurely by, his footsteps tapping lightly as he makes his rounds with a reassuring presence. An airline staff member unlocks the doors of a small cafe, the faint aroma of fresh coffee soon mingling with the cool, filtered air. The scent is subtle but comforting, a promise of warmth to come. Back at the gates, the seats and corridors remain mostly empty, quietly awaiting the day's travellers. In these pre-dawn moments, the airport is both vast and intimate. Without the crowds, one can truly appreciate the scale of the concourse. Rows of chairs patiently waiting for occupants, long stretches of walkway lying quiet and still, the illuminated signs above the gates glowing softly with the names of distant cities in white letters on blue. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the sky beyond the great windows begins to lighten from black to deep purple, and then to a velvety indigo. The first hint of sunrise paints a faint line of pink on the horizon, casting dim shadows that stretch across the vacant gates. Morning is approaching, and with it the gentle transition from night's tranquility to a new day of activity. Yet even as the airport prepares to wake, it does so gently. There is no sudden rush, only a gradual gathering of energy, as natural and calm as the sun climbing the sky. The airport is coming to life again, but it remains serene at every step of the way. Even beyond the terminal's doors, hints of the waking world appear. Along the approach roads, the glow of headlights punctuates the last remnants of night as the first cars and shuttles pull up to the departure curb. A taxi glides to a stop under the portico, and a moment later its passenger steps out into the crisp air, their breath visible in the cool dawn. The automatic glass doors slide open with a soft whoosh to welcome them in, bringing with them a brief swirl of chilly air that quickly dissipates in the terminal's warmth. These arriving travellers wheel their luggage inside, the rubber wheels gently thumping over the threshold, merging quietly into the stillness of the concourse. The outside world is beginning to connect with the inside, one calm arrival at a time, heralding the slow and steady transition from night to morning. By the time dawn's early light filters through the high windows, the airport has gently stirred from its slumber. The soft pastel glow of morning spreads across the terminal floor, illuminating dust motes that dance in the air. Outside, the silhouettes of aircraft become clearer against the pale sky. One by one, the airplanes at the gates blink their lights to full brightness, as if yawning awake. Baggage carts begin to roll along the tarmac, their electric motors whirring quietly as ground crew in reflective vests get to work preparing for the day's first departures. Inside the terminal, the atmosphere remains unhurried. At the check-in counters, a few airline agents have taken their places, turning on computer screens and tidying paperwork in calm, practiced motions. The first passengers approach the counters, pulling their wheeled suitcases behind them. The wheels make a familiar rhythmic clicking on the polished floor, a gentle sound that mingles with the background hum. The agents greet the travellers with polite smiles and hushed voices, mindful of the early hour. There is a courteous exchange of good morning, barely above a murmur, and the soft tapping of keyboards as passports are scanned and boarding passes printed. At one counter, a family checks in for a long-anticipated vacation. The two children rub their eyes, still waking up as they clutch small pillows and stuffed animals. Their parents hand over passports and answer the agent's questions in hushed, excited tones. The agent engages the kids with a kind smile, asking if they are looking forward to the flight. The children nod bashfully. With boarding passes issued and suitcases sent on their way down the conveyor, the family thanks the agent. They gather their belongings, the father gently placing a hand on each child's back as they move on, guiding them towards security. Even this simple family scene unfolds quietly and smoothly, setting a hopeful, calm tone for the journey ahead. Even the technology joins the morning quietude. The printers produce boarding passes with a low whir, and the luggage tag machine emits a soft zip as it dispenses adhesive tags for checked bags. An agent carefully affixes a tag around the handle of a suitcase. The paper loops softly, marked with barcodes and the airport code of a far-off destination. With a gentle heft, the bag is placed onto the conveyor belt behind the counter. The belt begins to move with a muffled electric purr, carrying the suitcase slowly away through a rubber-curtained opening. This is the beginning of the bag's own journey through a hidden world beneath the terminal, a journey we will follow in time. For now, the passenger watches as their luggage disappears calmly behind the counter, trusting it will be guided to the right airplane in due course. Elsewhere in the departure hall, more signs of life emerge, yet the mood is still subdued. At a nearby newsstand, the vendor quietly arranges newspapers and magazines, their pages flapping softly as they are set in neat rows. A coffee shop brews its first pot of the day, the rich, comforting smell wafting through the air. A few early travellers sit at small tables cradling warm cups, the steam rising to gently fog the edges of their tired reflections in the window glass. They speak in low tones or not at all, some flipping idly through a book or scrolling slowly on a phone, easing into the day. Music plays faintly over the terminal's speakers, a calming instrumental piece that is almost indistinguishable from silence, adding just a hint of warmth to the atmosphere. Now and then, a suitcase zipper zings or a plastic bin at security clacks, punctuating the quiet. But these sounds are neither alarming nor grating. They are simple notes in the morning's lullaby of airport life. Overhead, an electronic schedule display updates with a soft click, changing a flight status from scheduled to boarding soon. The letters and numbers rearrange themselves without fanfare. It is still early, and the first flight of the day will soon be ready to board, but there is no rush. The airport moves at a peaceful pace, each worker and traveller playing their part in this waking ritual, every action deliberate and calm. Behind the scenes, beyond the view of the waking passengers, the airport's baggage system springs quietly to life. The suitcase that disappeared behind the check-in counter now glides along a conveyor belt in semi-darkness, bathed in the gentle glow of overhead work lights. The conveyor hums steadily as it carries the bag forward, joining it with others from check-in stations across the terminal. Like a slow-moving river merging tributaries, multiple luggage belts feed into a main line, and the bags, each with its own coded tag, follow one another on a precise but unhurried journey. As the suitcase rides along, it passes through an archway where an array of scanners silently reads the barcode on its tag. There is a flash of red light and a quiet beep, the system recognizing the bag's destination encoded in black and white stripes. Instantly, mechanical switches guide the conveyor to route the suitcase onto the correct path. Around gentle curves and through junctions it travels, the entire mechanism working with a calm efficiency. Occasionally, the bag is jostled lightly as conveyors merge or diverge, but cushioned guide rails keep everything steady. It's a world of soft rolling wheels and low electric motors, largely unseen by human eyes, yet diligently sorting and ferrying each piece of luggage where it needs to go. In the midst of this mechanical ballet, there are still caring human hands at work. Further along the journey, under softly buzzing fluorescent lamps, a baggage security station scans each bag's contents. The suitcase glides through a large machine that resembles a giant medical scanner. Inside, without a sound perceptible to our traveller, sophisticated X-ray equipment inspects the bag for anything amiss. It's a thorough, silent guardian of the skies, ensuring safety without disturbing the peace. On a monitor in an adjacent room, a security officer observes the ghostly X-ray images scrolling by, illuminated in calm blue-green hues. With experienced eyes, they pick out the ordinary shapes of clothes, books, perhaps a souvenir, all appearing as translucent forms. Everything in this bag looks as expected, and the officer notes it with a satisfied blink. The suitcase continues on, none the wiser to the scrutiny it has passed. Soon, the conveyors carry the suitcase onward to a transfer point where human baggage handlers await. Two workers stand by a junction, where bags slide down gently onto a waist-high platform. They chat quietly with one another, their voices low against the backdrop of whirring belts. When our suitcase arrives, one worker smoothly lifts it and places it onto a waiting luggage cart. The cart has rubber-lined shelves that accept the suitcase without a bang, keeping everything as quiet and careful as possible. The worker scans the tag one more time with a handheld device, a final double check that this bag is destined for the correct flight. The scanner emits a soft beep of confirmation, and the worker gives a tiny nod of approval. Once the cart is partially filled, the baggage handler closes a light mesh gate to secure the cases. He climbs into a small electric tug vehicle at the front of the cart train. With a faint whir, the tug sets off across the apron on a service road, towing the cart behind. The ride is smooth and unrushed. The driver navigates slowly between other equipment and vehicles, passing under the morning sky that has now brightened to pale gold. He follows painted lines on the pavement that guide ground traffic safely around the aircraft stands. Other tug drivers wave casually as they pass, a camaraderie shared in brief glances and nods. Everyone knows their role in this carefully choreographed performance, and they carry it out with quiet pride and competence. The cart carrying our traveller's suitcase arrives at the plane parked at its gate. The aircraft is like a slumbering giant gently roused. Its cabin lights glow softly from the windows, and a few ground crew move around it with purpose. Two baggage handlers wheel a mobile conveyor belt to the airplane's open cargo hold, which yawns like a sleepy mouth under the wing. They line up the belt and start it with a low hum. One by one, they take suitcases from the cart and set them onto the belt, which carries them up and into the aircraft. Inside the belly of the plane, another crew member kneels in the cool, dim space, carefully sliding each bag into place. He works methodically, creating a balanced stack of luggage, mindful that weight distribution is important for the plane's stability. He secures the baggage with straps or netting to keep everything from shifting during flight. All of this is done with practiced ease. There are no loud thuds or thrown bags here, only gentle, deliberate movements. In a matter of minutes, the bags that were checked in at the counter now rest aboard the aircraft, ready to journey with their owners to far-off places. Back inside the terminal, our early morning traveller now makes their way toward the security screening area. This process, often a source of stress in the rush of midday, unfolds now in a soothing, orderly fashion. The security checkpoint is bathed in soft white light. Only a short, sleepy line has formed, with passengers spaced out and quietly awaiting their turns. Each person prepares in a calm, unhurried manner, removing a coat, slipping laptops from bags, placing keys and phones into trays. The sounds here are gentle too. The muffled rustle of jackets being taken off, the clink of a belt being placed in a bin, the hollow thump of shoes set aside on the cool floor. Conversation is minimal, just polite whispers between travellers and the occasional kind instruction from a security officer. Now and then, a softly spoken phrase in another language drifts through, a gentle bonjour as friends greet each other, or a quiet gracias as a family gathers their belongings after passing through the X-ray. Even in this subdued setting, one senses the diversity of journeys converging here, each traveller moving through this shared ritual in their own calm way. The officers themselves conduct their work with a quiet diligence. Dressed in neat uniforms, they guide each passenger through the steps with soft voices and reassuring smiles. One officer stands by the entrance of the walk-through metal detector, gesturing calmly for the next passenger to proceed. As our traveller steps through, there is a brief pause. The machine remains silent. No alarm, just the steady background hum. The officer on the other side nods gently and returns the items from the tray with a cordial, almost hushed, "Thank you. Have a good flight." If a bag needs a second look, the agent inspects it with care, unzipping compartments slowly and respectfully, under the watchful but non-intrusive gaze of its owner. The search is thorough but calm, and with a quick glance and a nod, the bag is repacked and returned, everything in its place. Nearby, another passenger enters the scanning machine, one of those cylindrical glass-fronted devices that uses millimeter waves to ensure safety. The person stands still as instructed, raises their arms gently, and in a few seconds the screening is done. The machine emits a soft whoosh as it completes its scan, almost like a sigh. They step out and gather their belongings from the conveyor belt. The plastic tubs slide along rollers with a soft clatter, but nothing is hurried or harsh. Each person takes a moment to slip their shoes back on, rethread their belts, and return laptops to bags, all without rush. It feels less like a checkpoint and more like a quiet morning ritual, a necessary part of travel carried out with mutual understanding and patience. Once through security, our traveller takes a deep, slow breath. The hardest part of the airport journey is over, and it wasn't hard at all this morning. A sense of relief mingles with the gentle excitement of the trip ahead. Belongings back in hand, coat over an arm, they continue onward. A friendly agent at the end of the line offers a final "take care now," which lingers comfortingly in the air as the traveller moves into the heart of the terminal. Past the checkpoint, the terminal opens up again, with another expanse of wide corridors and gate areas stretching out in both directions. The mood here remains calm. There is a palpable sense of ease after the screening process. Travellers stroll forward at a leisurely pace, glancing at direction signs or checking their gate numbers on boarding passes. Overhead, the ceiling soars, and ahead the concourse beckons with the promise of a comfortable seat and perhaps a bite to eat. The journey through security, often the last hurdle before relaxation, has been handled smoothly and quietly. Now, free to wander until boarding time, our traveller and others like them can once again appreciate the gentle rhythms of the airport's morning. Stepping into the main concourse is like entering a spacious living room of this travelling home. There is more activity now than an hour ago, but it is diffused across the wide halls, never feeling crowded or overwhelming. Soft morning light pours through tall glass walls, painting long rectangles of sun on the shiny floor. Where the sunlight lands, you can feel a gentle warmth radiating upward, a comforting contrast to the cool, conditioned air. Some passengers gravitate to these sunlit patches by the windows, turning faces toward the glow or standing quietly sipping their coffee, letting the natural light ease them into the day. The concourse itself stretches far, a gentle curve lined with gates on either side. The architecture of the terminal itself contributes to the serene atmosphere. Designed with high, arching ceilings and expansive open spaces, it allows natural light to flow in and grants a feeling of openness and freedom. Sound is managed cleverly here. Acoustic panels tucked along walls and ceilings soak up excess noise. ensuring that even as more people arrive, their footsteps and voices become a gentle murmur rather than a cacophony. Plush carpeting in some seating areas and strategically placed plants help dampen echoes further, making conversations at one gate scarcely audible a short distance away. Everything, from the curvature of the hallways to the placement of windows, is intended to ease the traveller's mind and make movement intuitive and unhurried. Moving walkways carry a few early risers slowly along, the rubber conveyor gliding with a low, steady rumble. Those who prefer to walk take unhurried steps, their footsteps echoing softly. Overhead, the signs for each gate and each shop hang neatly, guiding people without fuss. Gate 12 to the left, a restroom sign to the right with a simple icon. The announcements that come occasionally are calm and clear. A mellow voice might say, "Good morning, passengers. This is the pre-boarding announcement for Flight 102 to London, now boarding passengers with small children and those needing assistance." The phrasing is polite and unrushed, and the volume is just enough to be heard without startling anyone from their reverie. The words drift through the corridor and fade naturally, becoming part of the background. Our traveller finds their gate, one of many small alcoves branching off the main hall. Here, rows of padded chairs, some with sleeping armrests, form a quiet harbour. Many seats are still open, and the traveller chooses one by the window. Outside, the aircraft that will carry them is parked just beyond the glass. Ground crew can be seen in bright vests moving around the plane, making last preparations for flight. A fuel truck is parked under the wing, connected by a hose as it quietly pumps jet fuel into the aircraft's tanks. The fueling operation is surprisingly inconspicuous. There are no loud noises, just the faint hum of the truck's pump and a whiff of kerosene smell that is mostly kept outside. The sun gleams off the airplane's curved fuselage and the tall tail that bears the airline's colours. All appears calm and orderly. Inside the gate area, time seems to slow down. Waiting for a flight has a way of stretching minutes, but in this gentle atmosphere, the wait is almost meditative. Some travellers close their eyes for a moment, lulled by the ambient noise, the soft chatter of a few conversations, the distant clinking of dishware from a nearby cafe, the periodic beeping of a golf cart-like shuttle, transporting an elderly couple to their gate. Others quietly flip through paperbacks or gaze out at the view of the airfield, where an airplane in the distance is slowly taxiing toward a runway. Perhaps a family sits a few rows away, speaking quietly to keep their children entertained with a travel game or a story about the journey to come. Luggage rests by legs and under seats, bags tucked in like faithful pets at their owner's feet. Over by the window, a gentle tapping draws our traveller's attention. It is a tiny bird that has found its way inside the terminal, flitting near the glass. It hops and pecks curiously, seeing daylight through the transparent wall but not understanding the barrier. A gate agent, noticing the little interloper, approaches slowly. In a kind-hearted gesture, she opens a side door briefly, and after a few fluttering tries, the small bird finds its way out into the open air once more. The door clicks softly shut and the agent smiles to herself before returning to her desk. The bird's brief visit is a reminder of the world outside and brings a quiet smile to a couple of passengers who witnessed it. In an airport, even small moments of nature can find their way in, adding to the calm tapestry of the morning. The traveller pulls out a journal and pen, deciding to jot down a few thoughts while waiting. The pen glides over the page in the calm hush of the gate area. In the distance, they hear another boarding call for a different flight and watch a subtle flurry of movement as a few passengers gather their things and head toward that gate. The process is orderly. A short line forms, tickets are scanned with a soft beep one by one, and people disappear down the jet bridge. Our traveller knows their own flight will be called soon, but for now there is nothing to do but relax and soak in the atmosphere. The quiet moments before boarding feel precious, a small island of peace where one can simply sit and be, surrounded by the low-key buzz of an airport morning. On the wall nearby, a large departure board cycles through flights and their statuses. City names from all over the globe appear in soft amber text: Tokyo, Paris, Rio de Janeiro, Sydney, Nairobi. Each name flickers into view and then transitions to the next, a quiet reminder of how far this peaceful hall can reach. Gazing at the list, one can't help but feel a gentle awe that from this single airport, people will soon be heading to every corner of the world. Yet here, in this moment, all those distant destinations are connected by the shared stillness before departure. Before long, a soft chime sounds above, indicating an announcement. The gate agent's gentle voice comes through. It is time to board our traveller's flight. The announcement is considerate and clear, explaining that boarding will proceed in groups. There's no rush of people stampeding to the gate. Instead, a few travellers who need extra time, such as those with young children or wheelchairs, make their way first, moving calmly as others patiently give way. Then, one by one, rows of seats are invited to board. Our traveller's row is called, and with a small stretch and a deep breath, they rise from the comfortable seat by the window. They gather their belongings, double-checking that their phone and boarding pass are in hand, and step quietly into the line. The queue moves forward at an easy pace. Each passenger approaches the gate agent's podium, where the boarding passes are being scanned. When it's our traveller's turn, they offer their paper pass and ID. The machine chirps softly as the barcode is read, and the agent smiles, saying a polite "Thank you, enjoy your flight," as she returns the stub. There's something reassuring in that simple exchange, a human touch that acknowledges the journey is truly beginning. Beyond the podium, the doorway leads to the jet bridge, a long enclosed hallway that connects the terminal to the airplane. The jet bridge is dimmer and narrower than the airy terminal, but it carries its own sense of quiet purpose. The walls reverberate faintly with the ambient sounds of the aircraft ahead, the distant whir of ventilation systems on board, and the muted rumble of the auxiliary power unit providing power to the plane while it sits at the gate. As our traveller walks down the slight incline of the jet bridge, they feel the change in environment. The air becomes a touch cooler and tinged with the subtle scent of aviation, a mix of metal, upholstery, and a hint of jet fuel in the background. The floor gently vibrates with the hum of the running aircraft systems, a vibration felt through the soles of their shoes, reminding them they're about to step onto a living machine. At the end of the jet bridge, a warm smile greets each passenger. A flight attendant stands at the aircraft door, immaculate in uniform, welcoming travellers aboard with a soft, "Good morning, welcome." Our traveller steps over the small gap between bridge and plane, the threshold between the solid ground and the sky to come. The cabin is peaceful, lights set to a gentle glow. A quiet instrumental music plays overhead, barely audible, just enough to create a pleasant atmosphere. Passengers file down the aisle, placing bags in overhead bins with care or tucking smaller items under seats. The flight attendants assist where needed, their voices calm as they help someone find a seat or stow a bag. Up in the cockpit, the pilots carry out their pre-flight preparations in a cocoon of focused calm. The flight deck is dimly lit by instrument panels glowing amber and green. The captain and first officer speak quietly to each other as they run through the pre-flight checklist. Each switch toggled and each dial set in accordance with procedure. "Battery on," one murmurs. "Battery on," the other confirms, their voices steady and practiced. Earlier, while boarding was just beginning, the captain took a moment to step outside for a walk-around inspection of the aircraft. With a keen eye, she slowly strolled beneath the wings and along the fuselage, checking that the tyres were properly inflated, that no ice or frost clung to the surfaces, and that all looked shipshape in the gentle morning light. Satisfied, she climbed back into the cockpit to finish programming the flight computers with the route and altitude. Now, as the last passengers settle in, both pilots are calmly reviewing takeoff speeds and weather conditions. Everything is in order, and a quiet confidence fills the cockpit. They are ready to guide this aircraft safely into the sky. Our traveller finds their seat by a window. The chair is comfortable, and as they settle in, they run a hand along the armrest and take a moment to gaze out of the oval window at the familiar terminal they are leaving behind. Outside, the sky is now a delicate morning blue. The gate area where they waited is visible through the glass, and they can even spot the chair where they were sitting just minutes ago. A gentle sense of progression comes over them. One stage of the journey completed, another about to begin. The activity in the cabin continues quietly around them. A business traveller across the aisle pulls out a neck pillow and sighs contentedly as he leans back. A couple 2 rows ahead speak to each other in whispers, deciding who gets the window seat first on this leg. The overhead compartment doors close with soft thuds as the last bags are secured. Soon, the flight attendants begin a short safety briefing, their practiced voices calm and clear. One attendant stands near the front, demonstrating the use of a seatbelt and pointing out the emergency exits. Though this is an important and serious message, the tone remains gentle and routine. Many passengers listen with relaxed attention, while some who fly often half-listen with eyes already closed, trusting in the familiar procedures. A slight jolt signals the aircraft is detaching from the gate. The jet bridge has withdrawn with a faint hiss and clank. The plane, under tug power, begins to push back slowly from the terminal. Through the window, our traveller sees the ground crew. 2 workers stand a safe distance away, holding bright orange wands in their hands, guiding the plane's movement. Their gestures are smooth and synchronized, like a slow dance guiding the enormous craft. A tug vehicle at the nose of the plane gently pulls it backwards, aligning it away from the gate. The airport gate area drifts out of view, and the terminal's expanse opens up as the plane is turned toward the taxiway. Engines that were quiet begin to awaken. Our traveller can hear and feel a deep hum building from beneath the wings as the pilots start up the jet engines now that the pushback is complete. It's a low, reassuring vibration, powerful yet muted by distance and insulation. Inside the cabin, it resonates like a faraway purr, almost like a giant cat clearing its throat. The flight attendants complete their final checks, ensuring everyone is buckled in and secure. In a final sweep, they walk down the aisle with a kind word or a nod to each passenger. Then they too take their seats for departure. The cabin falls into a hush of anticipation, filled with the background drone of the ready engines. From the flight deck, a soft voice comes over the intercom, the captain speaking to the passengers. She welcomes everyone aboard in a tranquil tone, noting that the flight will be a smooth one, with good weather along the route. She mentions an expected on-time arrival and thanks everyone for choosing the airline. The message is brief and comforting, ending with a wish to sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. With that, the plane begins to roll gently, taxiing away from the gate area and joining the path toward the runways. Our traveller takes one last look at the terminal slowly passing by outside and then settles back, ready for the next phase of this journey. As the aircraft taxis slowly toward the runway, the world outside the window presents a graceful panorama of airport activity. The plane moves at a modest pace, following a guidance line painted on the pavement. Along the edges of the taxiway, blue lights mark the path like tiny sapphires guiding the way. In the distance, other aircraft are making their way to and from the runways as well, each kept at a safe distance, moving in an orchestrated flow. Our traveller notices one plane crossing far ahead, and another, smaller one, waiting on a spur to join the main taxiway once we have passed. Everything is carefully timed and directed, though from within the cabin it simply feels like a quiet drive across an expansive airfield. High above in the control tower, air traffic controllers oversee this choreography with calm precision. The tower itself is a tall, slender presence, visible on the horizon of the airport complex, its windows gleaming in the morning sun. Inside, the controllers speak softly into headsets, communicating with pilots in concise, composed phrases. Taxi to runway 27 via Alpha and Charlie, one might say, and those instructions are relayed directly to the cockpit of our traveller's aircraft. The pilots in turn respond just as calmly, confirming the route and preparing for takeoff. From the tower's vantage, the runways stretch out like broad ribbons, and each moving plane is like a piece on a chessboard, carefully managed. The controllers' voices are steady, even during busier moments, maintaining a tone that keeps pilots and ground crew alike at ease. Back on the plane, our traveller feels a gentle turn as the aircraft aligns itself onto the designated taxiway, leading to the departure runway. They pass by the airport's central terminal buildings, seeing gates and parked aircraft gliding by in slow succession. Occasionally, the plane pauses, waiting for clearance or for another aircraft to move. In these brief halts, one can notice the small details outside, perhaps a flock of birds fluttering near the grassy infield, or an airport maintenance truck crossing a service road in the distance, its yellow beacon rotating silently behind the thick glass of the cabin. The morning light has fully broken now, painting every surface with a soft golden hue. The airport, which was grey and shadowed an hour ago, now gleams as a new day takes hold. Soon the aircraft reaches the end of the taxiway near the runway threshold. It joins a short queue of planes, each patiently awaiting their turn to depart. There is a larger jet ahead of them, its tail towering, fins catching the sunlight, and a smaller regional plane behind, its propellers spinning lazily as it waits. The sensation of waiting here is different from waiting at the gate. There's a focused anticipation. Yet even this has its tranquility. Inside the cabin, passengers remain quiet, some peering out at the runway ahead, others reading or relaxing. One can feel a collective holding of breath, not from fear, but from a calm readiness for the moment of takeoff. Then comes a subtle change. The plane ahead moves onto the runway, and with a growing roar it begins its takeoff roll, speeding down the asphalt until it lifts gracefully into the sky. Our traveller's plane gently inches forward. They know their turn is next. The pilot receives final clearance from the tower. Those in the cockpit might hear, "Cleared for takeoff, runway 27, winds calm," spoken in that composed tone from air traffic control. The aircraft turns onto the runway, aligning perfectly along the centre line. From the window, the traveller can see the long stretch of runway extending out, lights and markings indicating the path to the horizon. There is a brief pause as the engines power up to the needed thrust. The sound in the cabin deepens from a purr to a steady low thunder, still muffled but potent. The plane begins to accelerate, pressing the traveller gently into their seat back. The vibration intensifies slightly, creating a steady shudder through the floor as wheels rush over runway seams. Outside, the surroundings blur softly. The terminal and other structures start to slip behind. But it's all experienced in a strangely peaceful way, the culmination of a well-prepared departure. As speed builds, the nose of the aircraft lifts. Our traveller feels a lightness in the body as the wheels leave the ground. Through the window, the ground slowly falls away. The runway, the taxiways, the airport buildings shrink gently as the plane ascends. Sunlight floods the cabin from one side as the angle changes. There's a moment of exquisite calm as the weight of the earth drops off and the airplane enters open sky. The engine's tone evens out into a stable, comforting drone. The vibration diminishes, the ride smoothens. The city beyond the airport reveals itself in miniature. Roads and houses quietly arranged below, a patchwork of life that the plane is leaving behind. Inside, a few passengers glance out to catch a glimpse of the receding world. Many simply keep their eyes closed or continue their reading, accepting the transition without much fanfare. For our traveller, watching the airport fall away evokes a gentle awe. What was moments ago an all-encompassing environment of glass, concrete and human activity is now a set of tiny details in a vast landscape. They see the runways like tiny strips and the planes on the ground like toys. The control tower stands as a little spike, and the parking lots and roadways look still and quiet. It strikes them how peaceful everything appears from this height, just as peaceful as it felt on the ground in those early hours. In the tower below, the controller watches as the departing aircraft climbs and turns safely away. With satisfaction, they shift focus to the next arrival or departure in sequence, their job a continuous, careful watch over the airport's sky. And on the ground, the ramp workers who guided the plane out give a final glance upward, perhaps watching the jet's silhouette against the morning clouds for a brief moment before returning to their duties. Life at the airport goes on, one flight after another, each takeoff as routine and wondrous as the one before. With the morning departures underway, the airport settles into its daytime rhythm. The once quiet halls are now gently buzzing with life, yet the sense of order and calm persists amid the increase in activity. Flights continue to take off and land, and the airport orchestrates each movement seamlessly. Over the public address system, announcements for boarding, arrivals and routine information become more frequent, but they are still delivered in that measured, courteous tone. There is an ongoing background murmur of conversations at coffee shops, between travel companions, at information desks, but no single voice dominates. It is the collective sound of a place alive with purpose, but still carrying an undercurrent of tranquility. Throughout the terminal, shops and services attend to travellers with the same gentle touch. At a bookstore kiosk, a customer flips through a paperback novel leisurely before deciding to purchase it. The cashier, standing by in a tidy uniform, greets them with a quiet "hello" and scans the book with a soft beep. As she slips the novel into a small bag, she wishes the traveller a pleasant journey. At a nearby gift shop, a child gazes wide-eyed at a display of plush toy airplanes. The parent allows a small smile and kneels to let the child pick one, turning this layover into a small adventure of its own. The shop attendant watches kindly, remembering her own childhood fascination with flight. When the purchase is made, the little boy hugs the toy and the attendant gives a warm goodbye, the brief interaction leaving both the family and the worker with a lightened heart. Even a quick stop at a cafe for a sandwich and a cool drink is handled with polite efficiency. The server carefully wraps the sandwich, adds a napkin, and hands it over with a genuine smile, all with an unspoken understanding that a simple kindness can ease the fatigue of travel. As one aircraft climbs into the sky, another is already preparing to land. On the horizon, a speck grows larger, and the sun gleams off a descending aircraft's wings. The control tower guides it in softly, cleared to land. The plane's wheels touch the runway with hardly a bump, just a brief puff of smoke from the tyres and it is rolling safely on the ground. The reverse thrust of its engines creates a distant rushing sound that can be heard from the terminals as a faint roar, but it fades quickly. The plane slows and exits the runway onto a taxiway. Ground controllers in the tower calmly direct it toward an open gate. A new arrival coming home, or perhaps bringing visitors to this city. At the gate, ground crews stand ready. They wave fluorescent paddles to marshal the aircraft into its parking position. The arriving plane glides forward slowly, guided by these hand signals and by electronic docking systems. It stops precisely where it needs to, and with a chime from the cockpit, the engines spool down. A gentle hush falls as the loudest sound in the vicinity ceases. Workers chock the wheels to ensure the plane stays firmly in place, and they connect it to ground power, a quiet source of energy so the aircraft can rest and be serviced without its engines running. A mobile stairway or the jet bridge is carefully manoeuvred to the door. Inside the plane, passengers feel that slight lurch as equipment connects. Then the seatbelt lights turn off with a soft ping, and relief spreads through the cabin. They have arrived. For those inside the terminal watching through the windows, an arrival is a small, heartwarming spectacle. They see faces appear behind the plane's tiny windows, peering out, happy to have arrived. Soon the door opens and people begin to disembark, stepping back into the world. Some travellers waiting in the concourse might be meeting loved ones. They stand up eagerly, yet still not breaking the calm atmosphere, perhaps waving quietly from afar when they catch a glimpse of a familiar face emerging from the gate door. Reunions unfold with smiles, embraces, maybe a few tears of joy, but always wrapped in the general quiet respect of the airport's environment. Even emotions seem to express themselves softly here. Meanwhile, the just-arrived aircraft begins its between-flight transformation. As the last passenger steps off, a cleaning crew swiftly and discreetly boards. They carry small carts with supplies, trash bags, fresh linens for headrests, vacuum cleaners that hum no louder than a gentle breeze. Within the cabin, they work efficiently, collecting discarded newspapers and cups, wiping down tray tables, fluffing pillows. They move methodically from front to back, leaving no trace of the previous flight's journey except a clean, welcoming space for the next passengers. This entire turnaround is done as quickly as a half hour in some cases, but nothing about it appears rushed. The team has done this countless times, and they flow through the aircraft like a calming breeze, restoring order and tidiness. Outside, other crew members tend to the aircraft's needs. The catering truck arrives with fresh supplies, boxes of meals or snacks, carefully prepared at an airport kitchen earlier and kept warm or cold as required. The truck's lift raises quietly to meet the rear galley door of the plane, and workers in hairnets and gloves pass containers inside with practiced care. Concurrently, a fuel truck might top up the tanks for the plane's next flight if needed. Though refueling can involve tens of thousands of litres of fuel, it's a routine operation carried out with strict safety and calm. A technician monitors gauges near the wing, the fueling hose connected securely, and when the necessary amount is pumped, he shuts it off and detaches with hardly a drop spilled, capping everything tightly. At the baggage hold, the arrival's luggage is being unloaded. The same conveyor belt that loaded bags earlier now works in reverse, and suitcases slide gently down into waiting carts. Baggage handlers lift and place them with care, understanding that these bags contain items precious to someone who has just landed. One by one, they fill the carts, and then drive them to the baggage claim area of the terminal. Inside, at the claim carousel, a bell chimes softly, and a light flashes to announce the belt will start turning. Soon, luggage emerges through a rubber-flapped opening and circles slowly on the carousel. Passengers from the flight gather around, a few step forward as they spot their bag, lifting it off with relief and contentment. There is patience and courtesy here too. People make space for each other, and a helpful stranger might even hoist a heavy bag off the belt for someone struggling, exchanging a friendly nod afterward. For travellers arriving from far across the world, another calm ritual takes place before such reunions. After stepping off an international flight, passengers follow signs to immigration and customs. The hallway leads them gradually away from the gate, often through quiet corridors adorned with welcome signs or local artwork. At passport control, they join a line that snakes back and forth but moves steadily. Bright flags or emblems of the country decorate the booths where immigration officers sit. Despite the seriousness of border control, the atmosphere remains civil and composed. Passengers, though tired from long journeys, wait patiently, passports in hand. When it's their turn, they approach the officer who greets them with a polite nod or a soft, "Good evening." A few brief questions are exchanged in low voices. Purpose of visit, length of stay. Then a stamp is pressed into the passport with a muted thud. "Welcome home," the officer might say to a returning citizen, or "Enjoy your stay," to a visitor, in a tone that is both professional and kind. The traveller smiles, relieved at the swift, courteous process, and continues onward. Beyond immigration, the final step is customs. Here, in a spacious, echoing hall, passengers retrieve their checked bags from another carousel if they haven't already. The wait is tranquil. Individuals stand by with luggage carts, watching the flaps as bags emerge one by one. There's no jostling, just an occasional lift of a suitcase off the belt and the quiet shuffle of people adjusting their carts. Many airports now use automated customs kiosks for declarations, allowing travellers to simply scan their passports and answer questions on a touchscreen under the calm glow of a monitor. If they have nothing to declare, they walk through the customs area via a green lane, often with only a friendly wave from an officer at a podium. If a bag needs inspection, a customs agent might gently ask the traveller to open it on a counter. The search is done respectfully and efficiently, clothes folded back neatly when finished, and with a "thank you, you're all set," the process concludes. The passenger then exits through frosted glass sliding doors that hush open, marking the end of their journey through the airport's procedures. All of these concurrent activities, passengers deplaning, crews cleaning, bags unloading, fuel pumping, happen as a coordinated yet quiet ballet. To an observer, it's almost magical how seamlessly an aircraft is prepared for its next journey. And beyond this single gate, the entire airport operates as a collection of such moments. An outbound flight taxiing to the runway, an inbound flight unloading, a line at a cafe in the terminal stretching then shrinking as morning blends into afternoon. The pace quickens slightly in midday compared to dawn, but thanks to the airport's design and the professionalism of its staff, it never feels chaotic. Instead, it is like a well-practiced orchestra playing a soft symphony of travel, each part contributing to the whole, every note heard but none overpowering the others. Amid the steady flow of travel, the airport offers oases of calm for those who seek them. Down a corridor, a sign marked "Quiet Room" or "Meditation Space" leads to a small, dimly lit chamber where soft chairs and perhaps a few potted plants create a sanctuary from the bustle. A handful of passengers sit inside, some with eyes closed, some softly praying or meditating. The only sounds here are the gentle ventilation and maybe the faintest background music of a soothing nature. This is a space set aside for peace, and it feels insulated from time. A traveller might sit for a few minutes or an hour collecting themselves, thinking of their journey or simply breathing slowly until they feel centred again. Elsewhere, a VIP lounge or an airline club offers a quiet retreat for guests. Through frosted glass doors, one enters a carpeted room with low lighting and comfortable armchairs. Here, the clamour of the terminal fades to a murmur behind insulated walls. People speak in whispers, if at all, perhaps enjoying a complimentary cup of tea or resting with eyes shut between long flights. The decor is soothing, muted colours, gentle artwork depicting clouds or landscapes, lamps casting a warm glow. It is a little haven of tranquility within the larger machine of the airport, designed to cradle weary travellers in calm. Even out in the main concourses, there are pockets of stillness. A rarely used gate at the far end might have empty rows of seats where one can sit undisturbed, watching the airport activity from afar like an observer to a distant dance. From such a vantage, one might notice patterns: the periodic arrival of a shuttle train gliding above on elevated tracks, silently ferrying passengers between terminals, or the rhythmic sweep of a custodial staff member pushing a dust mop along the floor, keeping the space immaculate without drawing any attention. Perhaps there is a corner with large indoor plants, a mini garden where a trickling fountain provides a soothing water sound. Airports often incorporate these gentle touches of nature to soften the experience, bringing the outdoors in to remind travellers of the greater world beyond the gates. Some passengers spend many hours in transit here, between flights. For them, the airport becomes a temporary home, a place to recharge before continuing onward. One such traveller, arriving from an overnight flight, might have a long layover through the afternoon. Instead of finding it tedious, they treat it as a time to unwind. After a leisurely walk through the concourse to stretch their legs, they find an empty cluster of seats by a window with a view of the runways. There they settle down, plug in their phone to charge, and perhaps call a loved one back home. Speaking in low tones, they share news of their journey, their voice calm against the background murmur of the terminal. After the call, they might take out a sketchbook or a novel, content in this little bubble of time. In the distance, they watch planes lift off one by one, each carrying hundreds of stories skyward. Instead of feeling impatient, the traveller feels strangely grateful for this peaceful pause amid travels, a chance to witness the airport's gentle ballet without any rush. A traveller might also take a leisurely stroll to stretch their legs during a layover. The terminal's long corridors provide an indoor walking path, and some airports even display art or local cultural exhibits along the way. One might wander past a wall display of photographs showcasing the region's natural beauty, or historical artifacts in glass cases. Viewing these quietly can be like a mini museum visit, adding a thoughtful pause in the journey. There is no hurry in these moments. Flights are well timed, and the speakers will gently call when one's next flight is ready. Until then, one can simply wander and discover these quiet corners and exhibits, letting the mind drift gently from one curiosity to the next. For those who prefer a more private respite, some airports now offer sleeping pods or mini suites, small rooms right in the terminal where a traveller can lie down. Imagine stepping into a little cocoon of a room, just big enough for a plush bed or recliner, a side table, and a calming piece of artwork. The door closes out the noise, and the soft lighting or total darkness, whichever one prefers, envelops the space. A tired passenger can take a nap, or simply close their eyes to rest, perhaps lulled by the distant thrum of the airport that seeps through as a gentle vibration. Waking up from a short rest, they feel rejuvenated, hardly believing they are still in an airport at all. It's in these small personal moments that the airport reveals another side of its character. Beyond the schedules and procedures, it is also a place of human care and respite. Whether through designated quiet zones, thoughtful amenities, or simply the chance to sit by a window and watch planes come and go, the airport provides space for reflection amidst movement. Even on a busy afternoon, with flights lining up on the runways and terminals abuzz, a traveller can find stillness. All it takes is a quiet corner, a view of the wide sky through the terminal glass, and a few deep breaths to feel at peace in the heart of this journey. As the afternoon gently slips into evening, the light in the terminal changes again. Golden hour sunlight streams in at a lower angle, creating long shadows and a warm glow across the gates. The once bright blue sky outside softens to hues of orange, pink and lavender as the sun descends. Travellers pause by the windows to take in the sight. An airplane taxiing past, silhouetted against a tangerine sky, looks almost poetic. For a moment, even the most hurried passenger slows their pace, captivated by the natural beauty unfolding beyond the glass. In a place so associated with movement, the sunset provides a reminder to pause, if only briefly. The airport's pace in early evening remains steady. Many flights are departing, taking people home after business trips or off on red-eye journeys to faraway continents. At the same time, Late day arrivals bring others back. The terminal lights gradually brighten as the daylight fades, ensuring everything maintains that familiar gentle illumination. Gate areas fill and empty in a cycle. A burst of quiet activity as a flight boards and departs, followed by a lull until the next group arrives. Through it all, the courteous announcements continue, now adding polite good evenings to their messages. Cleaning crews discreetly begin another round, emptying bins and wiping surfaces in the least obtrusive way, preparing the terminal for the night. Shops and restaurants see another wave of patrons, travellers grabbing a light dinner or a snack before their flights. One might see a person sitting at a bar by the window, nursing a glass of wine, gazing at the twilight sky. Another family shares a meal at a table, speaking softly about the day's events or the plans awaiting them at their destination. The clink of cutlery and murmur of conversation in a sit-down airport restaurant create an atmosphere reminiscent of a cosy dining room, albeit with luggage tucked at the table's side and planes visible outside. The service staff moves with a practiced grace, bringing steaming dishes or clearing plates with minimal fuss. In the main concourse, lights on the tarmac begin to stand out vividly as dusk turns to darkness. The runway edge lights twinkle blue and white, and the approach path is marked by rows of steady gold, guiding each inbound flight to a safe landing even in the deepening night. From inside, one can occasionally see the blinking red and green navigation lights of an airplane as it approaches the runway, like a moving star joining the constellations of ground lights. When a plane touches down at night, its landing lights flash brightly for a moment, then it rolls toward the terminal, headlights aglow. It's a calm spectacle. There is something soothing about watching these glowing vessels appear out of the darkness and come to a gentle stop at the gate. Even on evenings when weather rolls in, the atmosphere maintains its calm. If a light rain begins to fall, the raindrops tapping on the vast terminal windows create a soft, rhythmic patter. Passengers watch as the tarmac becomes slick and reflective, mirroring the orange and blue lights in dreamy streaks. Ground crews don thin rain jackets and carry on with their tasks, unfazed by the sprinkle. From inside, one can appreciate the coziness of the well-lit terminal, while the world outside is blurred by showers. In winter months, if snowflakes drift down, crews operate special de-icing trucks that glide up to aircraft before takeoff. These vehicles spray a warm glycol solution over the wings and tail, a preventive bath that ensures ice won't cling to the plane. Viewed from the gate, the spray fans out in a gentle plume, washing the aircraft in what looks like golden mist under the floodlights. It's a reassuring sight, a reminder that even nature's challenges are met with steady, measured care, all to keep the journey safe and unhurried. As flights continue, the terminal starts to quiet slightly compared to the daytime rush. By late evening, the number of travellers thins out. Many daytime workers have finished their shifts, heading home with a day's work done, while a fresh set of night personnel takes over, their voices and faces just as friendly, yet a bit more subdued as fits the late hour. The airport never fully sleeps, but it nods into a lighter rest in the late evening. Announcements become infrequent again, acknowledging perhaps a last call for a boarding or a notification of a slight delay in a connection, but largely the speakers fall silent. In some corridors one can walk and not see another soul for a stretch, aside from a distant figure vacuuming a carpet or a security officer making rounds. The architecture of the terminal, so bright and bustling at midday, takes on a peaceful ambience at night. High ceilings and broad halls feel even larger when they are emptier, and the echoes of footfalls become more pronounced yet still soft. The polished floor reflects the ceiling lights, creating the illusion of depth below as if one is walking on a quiet reflecting pool. In waiting areas, a few travellers might be stretched out across multiple seats, catching a nap before a red-eye flight, an eye mask on and a travel blanket pulled up to their chin. Others sit quietly with headphones, listening to music or a podcast with calm expressions. Everything is slower now, as if the entire airport is mindful of not disturbing those who might be sleeping or resting as they wait. Outside, the last hues of sunset give way to a navy blue night. The stars twinkle above, though on the ground the airport's own constellation of lights shines up. A gentle mist might start to form on cooler nights, making the halos around the lights fuzzy and magical. An outbound evening flight lifts off, its engines leaving a subdued roar in its wake, and climbs into the dark sky. red beacons blinking until it becomes just another speck among the heavens. For those still in the terminal, watching a plane depart into the night can stir a sense of quiet wanderlust, or an appreciation for the journey they themselves are on, whether they're flying or meeting someone who has flown. By the time the clock nears midnight, the airport has entered its most hushed state. Only a handful of flights are left on the departure board, perhaps a couple of late-night long-haul flights or regional connectors, and a few arrivals trickling in from distant time zones. The concourses are nearly empty, save for a few solitary travellers and overnight staff. Gates that were hubs of activity earlier now sit mostly vacant, their seats empty and jet bridges retracted like folded wings. A soft lullaby of background sounds remains, the ever-present ventilation hum, a distant vacuum cleaner, and occasionally the faint crackle of a two-way radio carried by a patrolling security guard. In these deep night hours, the airport belongs to its caretakers. Janitors move through with greater freedom, waxing floors in broad strokes, the machines emitting a steady, low whir that echoes down the long corridors. They take the time to polish every corner, leaving the terrazzo floors shining wet under the lights until they dry to a gleam. Maintenance workers take advantage of the lull to attend to tasks difficult to do amid crowds. One might see a team quietly replacing a burnt-out light high up on a ceiling, using a lift that beeps softly as it moves. Another team checks the moving walkway, pausing its operation briefly to inspect and ensure it will run smoothly for tomorrow's travellers. These activities are done with diligence but also with care not to shatter the calm of the sleeping airport. Out on the airfield, with fewer aircraft moving, ground crews address overnight tasks. A runway that isn't needed for the late-night arrivals is temporarily closed for a routine inspection. A convoy of maintenance vehicles drives slowly along its length, their headlights sweeping the pavement. Workers step out to check the runway surface for any debris and to ensure the lights embedded in the tarmac are all functioning. The stillness of the night is punctuated by the occasional crackle of their radios and a brief burst of conversation. Runway 27, inspection complete, all clear, they report, satisfied that everything is in perfect order for the next day's operations. In the distance, one last cargo flight might be taking off, its heavy body lifting into the quiet night, carrying packages rather than people, serving the world's nocturnal commerce. Not far away, at the cargo terminal, a similar quiet choreography unfolds for freight. In a vast warehouse illuminated by high-hanging lights, workers drive electric forklifts with a soft whir, moving pallets of packages and mail. They load metal containers that will slide into the belly of a cargo aircraft. Even here, the pace is steady and methodical. A supervisor checks the weight distribution and nods approvingly as each container is locked into place. Soon, a freighter plane will depart, carrying not passengers but the gifts, letters and goods of people from around the world. The cargo operation hums along almost silently alongside the passenger flights, a parallel network of care and connection that most travellers never see, but which keeps commerce and communication flowing gently through the night. Up in the tower, one of the controllers takes advantage of the lull. He stands from his console and stretches quietly, then pours a cup of tea from a thermos he brought. Sipping carefully, he gazes out through the tower's panoramic windows. Below him, the airfield's lights are spread out like a glittering map. Only a couple of aircraft are moving in the far distance. In this moment of stillness, he appreciates the rarity of silence in a place usually filled with sound. His reflection in the glass shows tired but content eyes. He knows that soon enough, a new day's chatter will fill his headset again. For now, he simply watches a gentle breeze sway the windsock near an empty runway and savours the quiet. After a minute, he returns to his station, refreshed by the brief pause, ready to guide the next plane that calls in on the radio with the same calm diligence that the night demands. Inside the terminal, the lights are dimmed slightly in some areas to save energy and to create a more restful environment for those who remain. At a far corner of a gate, a lone traveller sleeps with their head on a backpack waiting for a connecting flight at dawn. An airline staff member, noticing them, gently offers a spare blanket kept behind the counter. The traveller wakes briefly to accept it with gratitude and drapes it over themselves, instantly returning to a more comfortable sleep. Such small kindnesses pepper the night, often unseen by most, but they are part of the fabric of this place. For those few passengers wandering the terminal at this late hour, Perhaps due to a delayed flight or a long layover, there's a surreal sense of having the airport almost to oneself. The shops are closed, their metal grates pulled down, giving the effect of a sleepy town with shutters drawn. Vending machines hum softly, offering snacks to those in need. A lone television in a corner might be playing a world news channel on mute, flickering images to empty chairs. Time seems to stretch and bend in the wee hours. 5 minutes can feel like 50 when you're one of only a handful awake and about, but the calm environment also makes it easy to lose track of time altogether. A traveller might find themselves slowly pacing the length of a concourse just to stay alert, their footsteps the loudest sound around, or perhaps they sit by a massive window watching the occasional blinking lights of a late-night airplane crossing the sky above, wondering about its journey. The airport at night is akin to a cathedral of travel, hushed and reverent. The grand spaces that held thousands of people earlier now hold their silence with dignity. In the stillness, one can appreciate the sheer size and design of everything. The empty rows of check-in counters looking like an art installation under soft lighting, the baggage carousels silent and still waiting for the next influx of luggage at dawn, the previously busy security lanes now vacant, cordons neatly arranged as if set for the next performance when morning comes. Yet, even in these quiet hours, the sense of readiness remains. Airline computers run updates, flight plans are filed electronically for tomorrow's early flights, weather reports are reviewed by night-duty meteorologists. In an office somewhere within the airport complex, a dispatcher might be working the graveyard shift, calmly monitoring aircraft in flight and those scheduled to depart in a few hours, ensuring crews are in place and rested. The skeleton crew of the airport keeps watch like guardians through the night, so that come morning, everything will be in position to spring to life once more. Their dedication hums along quietly, much like the lights that never shut off, maintaining a continuum of service and safety until the first hints of dawn reappear. And so the airport spends the night in a gentle vigil, patiently awaiting the new day. Eventually, through the dark hours, a subtle change begins once more. A hint of early blue appears low in the eastern sky. It grows steadily, the darkness giving way to deep purple and then lighter blue. The first rays of sunrise soon peek over the horizon, casting pastel hues of pink and gold onto wisps of morning cloud. Those gentle beams find their way through the terminal's windows, illuminating the quiet halls once again. They glint off the wings of resting airplanes and paint the floors of the concourse with soft, warm light. Night's cool shadows are chased away by the dawn, and with every passing minute the airport's features become clearer, touched by the welcome glow of morning. Cleaning and maintenance crews wrap up their tasks, satisfied that all is spotless and operational. The terminals, still mostly quiet, start to see a few new faces. The very early staff of a new day arriving, coats on and coffee in hand, retracing the footsteps of those who came the day before. They step into a building that is peaceful, prepared, and humming softly with latent energy. In the first terminal, a security officer stretches and prepares to open a freshly organised checkpoint. At the check-in hall, an airline agent switches on a computer and smiles softly to themselves, perhaps taking a moment to enjoy the calm before the morning's first passenger walks up to the counter. Outside on the ramp, the sky's light grows, silhouettes of planes taking shape just as they did 24 hours ago. Birds stir in the grass beyond the runways. The control tower, which has watched over the airfield all night with its steady green and white rotating beacon, now welcomes new controllers climbing up to take the morning shift. They greet their night colleagues quietly, share brief updates in hushed tones. It was a calm night, a routine medical transport flight came through. Everything is in order for the day ahead. It won't be long before the first departure of the morning pushes back from the gate just as we saw before. Perhaps our original traveller's journey brought them back here, and they will depart again on an early flight out, or perhaps a new cast of travellers will be the ones to awaken the concourses with their presence. In either case, the airport is ready. It has been cleaned, tended, watched and cared for all through the night to ensure a seamless transition into day. Reflecting on the airport's full cycle, from the quiet pre-dawn beginnings through the busy day and back into the quiet of night, one is struck by how much of it is defined by rhythm and care. There were moments of motion and moments of stillness, all flowing together like a gentle tide. Every person, every process, played a part in maintaining an environment of calm and order, even amidst complex logistics. The airport, for all its grand size and constant movement, revealed itself as a place of surprising serenity when observed through a softer lens. Even at its busiest, pockets of tranquility could be found, each routine a reassuring reminder that order and care prevail amidst the motion. Like a giant, gently breathing organism, it inhaled the rush of travellers and exhaled calm efficiency, repeating this cycle day after day. Now, as dawn breaks once more, the world beyond the airport also awakens. But for those who have spent this time within its walls, whether working or travelling, there is a special appreciation for the subtle beauty of how it all operates. The hum of engines, the click of luggage wheels on tiles, the warm sunlight through expansive glass, the kind voice on a speaker, the tireless belts carrying bags, and the quiet heroes guiding planes and people. All these elements blend into a lullaby of travel. It is a lullaby that can soothe anxious hearts and invite drowsy eyes to close, knowing that everything is under control and moving as it should. Tonight, you have no need to hurry or worry. The airport continues its quiet watch, and you can simply let go. Let the soft impressions of this journey carry you further into peaceful slumber, where the distant hum of an airplane engine becomes a lullaby, and each gentle image melts seamlessly into your dreams. In a way, the airport itself never sleeps so that the rest of us can. We entrust ourselves to its rhythm and its people, and they carry us safely through the night into the next day. And as you drift asleep with these gentle images of the softly lit runways, the hushed terminal halls, and the promise of morning around the corner, you can feel comfort in the knowledge that, even in a place as busy as an airport, peace can always be found. The journey continues, quietly and calmly, through every sunset and sunrise, carrying dreams across the skies while the world quietly turns. All is well, and now the night is truly yours to embrace in gentle slumber. And that brings us to the end of our quiet little journey through the world of airports. If you're still awake, well done. But if you've already drifted off somewhere between the terminals and the tarmac, that's even better. Thanks for listening to Bore Me to Bed. I'll be back soon with another slow, uneventful topic to help you drift off all over again. Until then, sleep well.